today's lesson, we are moving on to something new because we pretty much reached the hardest point of what we've been doing over the past week, which was finding expressions from story problems. So now what we're going to do is we're taking it's kind of going to slow down our pace a little tiny bit. And today's lesson, I think you're going to kind of find to be fun. Those of you who play Battleship, the game, this is super similar to Battleship. Okay, so on a new page in your math notebook, you should write down the new title, which is Graphing Patterns, and then today's date, which is May 6th. So the I can statement and what we'll be doing over the next couple of days is describing a relationship shown on a graph. So for starters, today we're just going to learn about graphing, and then you'll see kind of how the graphing will eventually connect back to tables and to patterns and to expressions. Okay, so here we go. Alrighty, okay, so this should be the subtitle, plotting points on a coordinate grid. Okay, now on the title page, when we did our chapter search at the beginning of the unit, coordinate grid and Cartesian plane were two of the terms that you had to look up. So I'm wondering if you remember some of these terms. Okay, so a coordinate grid is basically a graph with an x-axis and a y-axis. So coordinates, like what are the coordinates? You might hear that maybe for like mapping, or like even those of you guys who play like your video games, you might know about like what are this person's coordinates? Where are they located? So yeah, basically that's an x-axis and a y-axis, and our Earth also is basically on a coordinate grid, because the x-axis, which would represent the equator, and then the y-axis would represent the international dateline. And then, yeah, we always have coordinates depending upon how far in one direction we are compared to the other. So in grade 6, the only thing that we're going to be doing is working in a coordinate grid in this quadrant, okay? So technically on a grid, we also could go into positives going this way on the x-axis, but then the y, as we see it continues down this way, if we went like, maybe this is a plane taking off, if we went in a submarine below the surface, we also could get negative numbers, but we're not going to be doing that in grade 6. And then the same deal over here, maybe if this is like the starting place of, I don't know, like a race, you went forward, but you also could go backwards, which would show negative integers. And then over here, this would be double negative, but you'll learn about that. You'll learn about that later. Okay, so coordinate grid, most important thing is it's just a graph with an x-axis and a y-axis. A Cartesian plane is just a fancy schmancy name for the same thing. So if you hear that term, it's just a synonym. Okay, they might try to kind of confuse you with some of these terms. They're expecting that you know that those are both the same thing. The next thing that we might need to know is the term origin. This is one of the words also that was given to you in the pre-chapter search. Basically, an origin is a point of intersection, which is going to be 0. So if you wanted to even highlight, you could highlight this maybe as like a certain color, yellow or orange or whatever, and then the origin is here, okay? It's exactly where we have 0 and 0. I might even just highlight this for us while you guys are writing this in. Okay, so I'm just gonna highlight origin, which is 0. So that is right here, right smack dab in the center, okay? That is our origin. So they might ask us, how far have we moved from the origin? Because the origin, if you think of like original, it's the original spot. Yeah, 0. Okie dokie. There we go. Okay. So, okay. Now, the next thing is an ordered pair. Okay, now this is the most important term that we're going to be using today, is understanding what an ordered pair is. So an ordered pair are numbers. It's a group of two numbers that describe the position on a point of the grid. So, for example, point A, if this is where your little like battleship was, A, the ordered pair for A would be 3, 5. Okay, now it's very, very important for writing ordered pairs It's kind of like math code. It's in a way kind of like proper grammar for math. We have to put brackets around the ordered pair. And then we also have to split the numbers by using a comma. We can't just put 3 and a 5 because that in math terms would mean 35. We also cannot just leave a space. It's very important that you put a comma, not a period, not a dash. Okay, that's like the math lingo. That's just like how it is. Okay, so alrighty. So this point here, A, okay, if we were, oh, you know what? I need you to take the time to actually draw this in. If we were in class, I would have given to you these little pieces of paper. I would have handed them out to you and would have glued them into our book. So what I would like you to do is draw this. Actually, you know what? On this lesson, I'm actually going to post this for you so that you are able to print it out. And then if you have a printer at home, you can print it out and you can cut it up and then you can glue it into your book. Okay, that's going to be one option. Or you also are able to just draw this, especially this is why we have these grid notebooks for math. Okay, so, and this, I also suggest that you get out some colors because this is going to be, we're going to be doing some color coding for this. Okay, so critical, and this is easily something I know that always gets like potentially backwards in people's minds, but it's super important, just like a rule, we have to keep it straight. So the first digit in a set of ordered pairs is always the horizontal axis. So the horizontal or the x-axis, okay, so that goes across. So the first digit, which is in this case 3, it tells us that we have moved positive 3 places away from the origin, okay? And then, I think you probably have a guess, the second digit is the vertical y-axis. So that tells us how far up we have gone. So that's why the ordered pair for this location of A is 3 on the x-axis and then 5, 3 comma 5, which shows that we have gone up 5 places. Okay, the really helpful way that I like to remember this, and I think it's going to help you as well, is think of a plane. Okay, even if we're thinking of like a Cartesian plane, this is like an airplane. And the airplane always has to go on the runway, right? It has to move horizontally before it can take off vertically. Okay, so that's, I think, going to be the most helpful way for you to remember this. It always moves across. The plane always has to go on the runway first before it takes off. Okay, we're not talking about a rocket ship. It's not a rocket ship. It's a normal airplane that you would ride in. Okay, well, maybe not now, once the quarantine's over. Okay, there we go. So now this is your job. If you want to color code this, you could. So the first digit, if you want to kind of keep this straight, is like X. Okay, so I know that this is going to be my X. This is going to be my X, just like I had the blue for the 3. And then if you also wanted to color code this, oh, I guess I'm using purple again here. Okay, well, that would be the y-axis. Okay, I guess I shouldn't have used something maybe different for my origin color. Anyway, maybe hopefully you are going to do that. So then this is going to show that part. Okay, so what I would like you to do now is, if we were in class, we'd pause for a moment and I would have you draw in plotting B and plotting C. Okay, so take a moment to do that, and if you want to pause me and then you can do it and then press play again so that you can see if you've done it correctly. That would probably be the best strategy for your neurons in your brain to connect. Okay, I'm going to keep going though. So for B, we know that we go across 6 and then we go up 2. So I know I'm going to go to the 6 and then I'm going to go up to 2, and you always draw on the actual cross. Okay, so exactly where the 2 points intersect. It can't be floating in space anywhere. That's going to be wrong. And then I'm going to label this point as B. Okay, the next one is C. So I know it is 4 on the horizontal axis. So I go across 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, 0. Okay, well that means my plane didn't take off. I am grounded. I did not move at all vertically. So there we go, C. Okay, very good. So that is, believe it or not, that's the only part of our lesson for today. And this is the homework. So it's, Monday. No. It's due on Wednesday. Okay, so it's in the workbook, pages 8 and 9. All of the questions, stretch your thinking is optional. So here is page 8, here is page 9. You need to do all of page 8. Okay, so you have to name which letter corresponds to the ordered pair. See how, again, they follow the rules. It has to be bracket, number, comma, number, and then close bracket. Then what you need to do is you need to continue plotting these on here. Okay, and make sure that you have them labeled just as they did. And again, notice you cannot have the numbers floating in space. They need to be directly on the cross, exactly on the intersect. And then moving on to page number 9, plot each of the ordered pairs, okay, and then join the points in order, okay, so that means you would join, once you plot this one, then you'd go over here, you plot this one, and you connect those two. Then after you plot this one, you plot this one, and you connect those two. It's not going to make a random star. You have to join them in order, okay? Join the last point to the first point. So then this one will connect back to the first, okay? And it is important that you follow those directions or else you are not going to actually form the correct shape. So you might want to use different colors, possibly if you want to. I'd suggest you do this with pencil first, and once you're confirmed, then I suggest maybe go over it with a pen or pencil crayon in case you need to do other erasing later. It doesn't kind of mess you up. So I remember this from last year. People would always ask me, name each polygon you have drawn. So this is a review of our earlier unit. You might be drawing, for example, a square. Maybe it's a rectangle. Maybe it's a parallelogram. Maybe it's a rhombus. So name whatever, whatever you have, or maybe it's a kite, whatever you have happened to have drawn. Okay, that's the first one. And then 2, so this one is just like wild open choice for you. You get to plot whatever you want. You could even make a symbol or something, I don't know, whatever you want. And then you have to record the ordered pairs that you created. Stretch your thinking is optional, but it's excellent for your brain. It's a bit of a challenge. So those are 2 vertices of a parallelogram with an area. Ooh, this is combining 3 units, which is super cool. You have to know what a parallelogram is, and you also have to be able to understand area. So the area is 10 square units. So because it's a parallelogram, you're going to have some angles. So that means you have to figure out half plus half would be what? Plot the points of the 2 given vertices, and then you have to figure out what could coordinates of other vertices be to create a parallelogram. And there are going to be many answers. There's not just one thing that's correct. So they're stretching you even further here to see how many different parallelograms you could create. Okay, so that one is optional. If you somehow, one more thing, if you have not seen just a reminder, if you have not seen your mark from the morning math, then just send me a private message, but it should be recorded in your page as long as everyone has done this, but you can check your page even if I haven't released the review video. And the second thing is make sure that you're playing Prodigy, because there's the additional 20 questions, which are the task expanding upon last week, which are due on Thursday. So it's good for your brains to think about that at some point, over the next couple of days. Okay, great work, and see you for ELA pretty soon.